And blessed to be a part of your day. Thank you all for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580. Coming up, everybody loves to talk about elections and politics. Why are so many people voting in the gem state? We'll talk a little bit about that. And then Bill O'Reilly will join us, author of Killing the SS, The Hunt for the Worst War Criminals in History. We look forward to speaking with Bill O'Reilly. Again, I try not to get too geeked out on this because I am basically your telephone, your conduit, your texter, if you will. But two of the highlights that I've had is one being on The Factor with Tony Snow and Bill O'Reilly. And when Bill O'Reilly calls you Mr. Miller, it doesn't get any better than that. Again, for me, sorry again, I apologize for geeking out. And when I was a baby talk show host trying to interview Bill O'Reilly, and he answers his phone, O'Reilly, and as Ray and I can attest, and a lot of others, I couldn't figure out how to work the equipment. So, again, we certainly appreciate his patience as we move along. In addition to that, don't forget Miller's Mission coming up. Heck, it's just around the corner, October, almost out of the way. And then, true believers, we are back in Nampa, our home away from home, thanks to the Boise Rescue Mission, Camping World, Team Mazda Subaru. We're going to ask you to give a turkey. Don't be a turkey. And I can't wait to collect turkeys again for the Boise Rescue Mission. Joining us now from CRTV is John Miller. Mr. Miller, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Pretty good. Now, you folks at CRTV, you are really innovative when it comes to getting the message out. For people that aren't familiar with who you are, I follow you quite frequently, sir. Tell us a little bit about you and CRTV.
So CRTV, we are relatively new, but we are an online streaming service. So we have a lot of content that you can access. We have Mark Levin, Steven Crowder, Michelle Malkin, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty. You can access all of that content as a subscriber, but we also do a lot of social media campaigning, and we provide a lot of content for people who don't subscribe, who want to know a little bit about who we are. So you can follow us on Facebook. Our Twitter handle is CRTV. Facebook.com/CRTV. You can follow me personally on Twitter to see what I do. I'm CRTV's White House correspondent, so I do our White House. I do a 8 to 10 minute segment of just about the news of the day coming out of the White House, and so we provide kind of our viewers with some content that's not what you're getting in the mainstream media. That's not what you're getting from the liberal media, and kind of the other side of the story. And we like to tend to focus on the stories that matter to Americans at home. So, you know, a lot of the people in the White House press corps who I see every day focus on, palace intrigue and things that really don't affect the average American. And so what we try to do at CRTV is really talk about the things that are affecting people at home and affecting everyday Americans' lives.
Well, and you've got some old friends of mine, Rick and Bubba, on CRTV. And,
yes, they're great.
Their name says it all. John, what's it like to work in the White House? We talked to your friend John Decker quite a bit, but for you as someone who is a conservative, a reporter, who exemplifies the ideal of the American dream, what's that like for you to walk in each and every day?
You know, I always say this, that there's this unspoken rule in the White House press corps that, you know, you're not supposed to, you're all supposed to get along with each other. And so, you know, so when there's bad reporting coming out, you know, and when there's inaccurate reporting, you're supposed to turn a blind eye. You're not really supposed to attack other reporters. And we don't really take that approach because there's so much bad reporting. And you wonder why all the stories look exactly the same that are coming out of the White House press. And it's because, you know, they're an old establishment club, which is good in some ways, but, you know, in other ways, the stories that come out of there's no variety because, you know, all of the stories that they think are important, you know, are the stories that they think they have to cover. So, you know, as someone who is not, you know, relatively new on the scene, we have that opportunity to provide a different point of view. But we also get into some trouble because, you know, we do go after, you know, other reporters who happen to report inaccurate stuff. We do go after the people who we think are providing a completely biased view. And I think our biggest problem with, and I won't say all, there's, you know, there are great reporters, but I think our biggest problem with some of the reporters is that they have this pretense of objectivity. And that gets them into trouble, right? Because they pretend to be looking at these stories from an objective point of view. And we all know they clearly have a bias. So, what we try to do is say, we have a conservative point of view, and we're not trying to pretend we're objective. And I think that gives our viewers and our listeners and our readers a lot more honest coverage. But, I do have people in the White House press corps who come up and say, I really enjoy your stuff, and they whisper. And I'm like, why are you whispering? If I were Jim Acosta, if I were, April Ryan or any of the other names that you see today at those press briefings, you wouldn't be whispering and saying, I like your stuff. You'd be proudly proclaiming that you enjoy our coverage. But the fact that, we are conservative and the fact that, we are independent and speaking our minds about this stuff, we kind of have to be on the DL, and people who kind of have to look quietly at the White House.
Well, do you get into trouble based on CRTV? I mean, you have to deal with these folks each and every day.
Well, we've gotten into some trouble. Luckily, not everyone is polite. We've gotten into some people calling us out on coverage, but nothing too big for the most part. Which I can't say going forward. But I think that it is so far we've been lucky, and we're lucky to have an administration who is willing to take small outlets like CRTV, small outlets like, OAN, who's, doing great. They just had an interview with the president. Small outlets like the Daily Caller, people who have, who aren't the big networks, who aren't, Fox, ABC, New York Times, and, give us a voice. So we've been pretty fortunate. There haven't been any big showdowns yet, but I'll have to keep you posted if there are.
John Miller joining us from CRTV. John, what did you make of the controversy last week involving Kanye West coming to the White House? Is that really worthy of a national discussion, considering the important work of the administration? It seems like, and you're in the swamp, you're in the deepest parts of it, sir. That people seem to focus on the frosting, but not the cake. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, it's interesting because that was what was it, like 3 days? People are talking about that story last week, if not more, and people are still talking about it. I think Kanye's visit to the White House in and of itself was not as big of a deal as people made it to be, because people go to the White House all the time. I mean, celebrities go to the White House all the time, and you never hear about it. Under Obama, Jay-Z, Beyonce were visiting the White House on the reg. You didn't hear a word about it because it's not, as you say, a national story. It's not a big deal. I think what made this a deal was the left's reaction to it. Before Kanye even got to the White House, CNN and their anchors and their panelists are calling Kanye, a token Negro, and a Negro who doesn't read. And I think that's what created a national story, because it just highlighted the fact that if you are a black supporter of the president, or if you're a black person who speaks out in favor of some conservative policies, and I certainly don't agree with, everything Kanye was even saying at the White House, then you are a target of the left. And I think it just highlighted the hypocrisy of the left and the hypocrisy of how they treat fellow blacks, because they think that, if you're a conservative, we don't have your vote, and therefore your opinion doesn't matter to us, and therefore we can kind of treat you as less than human. And so I think that's why it was, at least for me, a bigger story than just Kanye going to the White House. But I absolutely agree, Kevin, that that Kanye's visit to the White House in and of itself should not have been a national story.
John, as a journalist, how do you maintain your objectivity when you see such a big tilt? And it has been for years, but with your colleagues on the more progressive side, it's as if they take everything that the administration does, sir, personally, which is odd.
Yeah, the first thing is that, I don't hold the pretense of objectivity, because I think that, the people who do are doing themselves a disservice. So, I tell my viewers where I'm coming from, and that way they can take what I say at face value and they know who I am. And I've always said I respect Rachel Maddow more than I do some of the anchors at CNN, because CNN, they try to pretend that they are coming at stories objectively, and clearly that's not the case, because as you say, they do take things that the administration does personally. For instance, Jim Acosta. I mean, if you read his Twitter feed, there's no question about where he stands with speculation. There's opinionating, there's judgment, and often it's like he's in a personal fight with the White House. And for someone who claims to be an objective journalist, for him to make the story so much about himself so often, I think tells you everything you need to know. So, I think that there are a few objective journalists out there who do a very good job of just presenting the facts and calling balls and strikes, which is what an objective reporter should do. but the majority of the people who are reporting at the White House are not that. So, I, again, try to be very clear with my viewers of where I'm coming from and how I feel about things. And I think that creates a more honest conversation. In a day where, the news is so polarized, and in a day where, there's so many different opinions and so many different feelings about things, I think that it's important to be honest with your viewers, with your readers, about where you're coming at an issue from.
John Miller joining us from CRTV. You can catch him there and on Facebook and on Twitter. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. What do you make of the coverage of the caravan story, John?
I think that it's funny because you see them talking about, it's a scare tactic, and Trump is just using this as as a way to rally up his base. I don't really see how now the number has gotten up to 14,000 people coming to our border. I don't really see how that is how Trump is using that as a scare tactic. I think that it is important to see it for what it is, and we've seen Obama. 2005. There's a clip going around now of Obama talking about how it is important to keep our borders secure, how it is important for people, if they want to come to this country, they can come to this country legally. They can come to the country the right way. And this is Obama saying this. So, it's not this controversial idea that, you can't just storm our borders and demand that we let you in. And that used to be a bipartisan thing. That used to be something everyone agrees on. Now it's considered a radical thing that Trump's using to rally up his base. So, I think that we have to be strong. I think that we have but I also think that we have to game where we pretend that somehow saying that we want not let people in and that they should be a radical right-wing idea, and that Trump is only using that to secure. It's been something that both sides used to be able to do.
John Miller, we'd love to have you back. We appreciate your good work. We thank you for making time for us this morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, John. We appreciate that. We apologize for the phones and everything else. It must be the progressives, must be the libs jamming our signal. Let's go to Liberty Linda, who's been very patient. Liberty Linda, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. You're right, Kevin. Tanya J. Powers, we couldn't do without her. She's our rodeo queen. Anyway, no, we wouldn't want to do without her. You're right. And absolutely not. You men are not on your way out. I honor good men.
Well, and for people that are just tuning in, last hour we were talking about a world without men. You had former President Obama in Nevada going, well, let's elect all the women, and wouldn't that be great? And then I was talking about a place I was in the Treasure Valley where the staff was all female, no men at all. Scary for me.
Well, I like it, both men and women. Why can't we be fair to everyone?
I don't know. I think it's not looking good for men.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, a lot of women do not think that way.
Well, that's a good thing.
Especially when you see a man wearing a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, having a shoulder gun and driving a pickup truck. We can go back to our famous He-Man cowboy.
Hold on. That is such the opposite view of one of us personally. So you're right. A great-looking, masculine American male wearing the Wranglers, the cowboy boots, the shirt, the bolo tie, the pickup truck. Now contrast that with yours truly, shorts, long-sleeve shirt, T-shirt from Walmart, hair disheveled, wearing Crocs, and looking for a kickball tournament.
And in a turkey suit, too.
Very soon we'll be back in the turkey suit.
And I will be there.
Well, as you know, and for people that aren't familiar with Miller's Mission, because we're getting new listeners all the time, we continue the talk show nonstop after the show. And Liberty Linda, you remember that? You and Terry from State College, Pennsylvania, some guy we didn't know, some other guy showed up, and it was like a 3-hour conversation about theology.
I know it. I think I held it pretty well, though, that day.
I think you were great, but you're always great, Liberty Linda.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but I just looked at it as fun. I still love Terry, and, just a fun afternoon. That's what I looked at it.
Well, it's a great afternoon for a good cause. It really is.
Well, I'd like to see our president wearing a cowboy hat and wearing cowboy boots. I wouldn't mind if he came to Idaho wearing those. It's so our foundation and, cowboys, one thing I brought up about cowboys is they respected women and they honored women. That's why I brought up cowboys today. And we need to have a respect for women, but, we women respect you men.
Well, I don't know about that anymore.
And honor you. Well, there are enough of us out here still, when we see a man, we go weak in the knees because they do.
I don't know. You have some women that see women and get weak in the knees.
Well, anyway, I respect men and I honor men and men with integrity, and I think they're wonderful. And we don't need women to take over any town. We need to respect one another. That's the way I look at it. Women have their wonderful aspects, and so do men. And we need to.
Look, my heroes have always been cowboys.
And aren't they wonderful to watch those cowboy movies? And there was an integrity there, and they did honor women, and they protected women. And that's one thing I like about it. And you can even do that in a turkey suit.
I'll take your word for it, Liberty Linda. Thank you for much for the call.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to our famous guest.
All right. Thank you, Liberty Linda.
Okay. You too.
Bye-bye. And by the way, get this, Titanic 2? No, it's not a sequel to the movie. There's actually a new boat coming out in 2022 called Titanic 2. Yeah. Some things you just can't comment on. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Yesterday, we were explaining the president saying he's a nationalist. And what's wrong with being a nationalist? Well, you've got the gang of usual suspects. They're upset with him. We'll share that with you, and you don't want to go anywhere. Bill O'Reilly joining us in a little over 10 minutes. That's right, Bill O'Reilly right here on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get to Max in Garden City. Max, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. My wife, she's a foreigner. She's not used to the American situation. She looks at it through very innocent eyes, and she asked me last night, she said, why, my husband, why do people of America, and she said, the Democrats, she said, why do they seem to have their own set of laws, their own set of principles, and yet when we live by those, they attack us? It seems that they just don't like anybody except, and she calls it Mr. Chaos. They love chaos. They don't like law and order. The laws only seem to apply when it's convenient to us or to them. They're special. And we both take umbrage at Mr. Obama, Mr. Has-been, Mr. Totally Irrelevant, getting up and saying, we need all women. What is he talking about? Identity politics, sex politics. And she's confused. I'm not totally confused, but I don't admit to being right on with it either. What's going on, Kevin? How have we accepted this?
8 years of Obama will do that, Max.
He didn't. I watched him from abroad for 8 years, and nobody has done more to divide the American people, to pit brother against brother, sister against sister, and however you want it. No one's done more than he has to destroy this country from the inside and from without. If anybody even listens to an Obamaite, you're insane, because those guys are off the track. They're crazy. They have jumped the cliff. They're gone. And I pray that this election will give us a crimson tide, not a blue wave.
Roll Tide, roll. Max, thank you for the call.
Okay, buddy.
Coming up next, Bill O'Reilly with Kevin Miller and you only on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget Miller's Mission coming up November 12th through the 17th. Once again, we'll be donning the turkey outfit to raise money and turkeys for the Boise Rescue Mission. It's always better to give a turkey than to be a turkey. Joining us now is the best-selling author, of course, when it comes to television commentary, when it comes to news, politics, and entertainment, and just telling it like it is, our great friend Bill O'Reilly, who is always looking out for us, the author of Killing the SS. Mr. O'Reilly, thank you for joining us.
Kevin, my pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
And I know we're going to get right to the book, but I just have to do a fanboy thing, and you're going, gosh, got on with this guy in Idaho. He's going to go fanboy on me. But Mr. O'Reilly, I had a chance to be on The Factor with you and Tony Snow when I was covering the Duke lacrosse case, and it was such a privilege to speak with you, number one. And number two, 20 years ago, when I was just a baby host at Huntsville, I was trying to work the phone equipment, and you were so patient to give me 10 minutes of your time, and it just meant so much, and you mean so much to all of us here.
Well, thank you, Kevin. That's very kind of you to say. I don't remember the Snow interview, but I do remember the case very well, and, it's relevant to today. I was thinking about that Duke lacrosse case in the Kavanaugh hearing, so I'm glad you're doing well.
Well, thank you, sir. And, because we live in such an ADD world, have we forgotten how diabolical, how evil Hitler and the SS were and what became of these guys after World War II?
Yeah, I think so. Particularly younger Americans. I mean, you go out on the streets of Boise today and you say, hey, what do you guys think about the SS? And you're going to get blank stares because they don't teach it in school. The Holocaust, everybody's heard of it. They don't really know what it was, how it happened. And the reason that we should know is because we're seeing a rise of evil in America today. And we can't turn away from it. And that's the theme of Killing the SS, is that this never would have happened had the German people in the late 1920s and early 1930s faced down the evil that Hitler brought and said, no, we're not going to do it. And today in America, we have people walking into schools, gunning down students. We got tens of thousands being shot in Chicago by drug gangs. We got clerics abusing kids. That's all evil. And we have to, in our own personal lives, we have to confront it and understand that this is not acceptable. So that's why I wrote Killing the SS. It's a history book. It's like all the other killing books in the sense that it moves along very fast. There are 19 million copies of the killing books in print, Kevin, if you can believe it. And it hit number one on the New York Times list this week, and that's my 15th number one book.
Bill O'Reilly joining us here, Killing the SS, his new book on KIDO Talk Radio. Mr. O'Reilly, most folks are either good at speaking, being on television or radio, or very good at writing. You're one of the few that can do both. You're successful in both endeavors. Why write these books that continue to be bestsellers?
Well, I'm a former history teacher. And, when I left teaching and went back to Boston University to get a master's degree in broadcast journalism, I was always interested in history. And I was so angry because most history teachers, with all due respect, are boring. And so when I got a position of responsibility on television, I was able to get offers to write books. And I said, I want to write books about things that happened that people should know about, but in a very entertaining way. So that's how it all came about. And, look, life is funny. I always tell people, find stuff you like to do and work hard and you'll be successful. But look at you, Kevin. I mean, you like to do broadcasting, you're successful, you work hard. That's the key in America to success.
Indeed. And obviously, getting back to Killing the SS, Mr. O'Reilly, did these
Bill,
guys...
you can call me Bill, Kevin.
Yes, sir. Like I said, when I was on The Factor with you, when you called me Mr. Miller, it just kind of rung in with me for years.
I know.
We go to... Did these guys think they got away with it?
Yeah, they did get away with it for a lot of years. I mean, when you are literally killing hundreds of thousands of people, and then the war ends, and you have an organization helping you get away, Odessa, so a lot of money and assassins to help you get out of Germany, down to Genoa, Italy, and then on a boat to South America or South Africa or Spain. And they got away with it for a lot of years until people mobilized and said, you know what, this is wrong, we got to find them. And there were people in the United States today who are, they're in their 90s, most of them, who are being deported. And they deserve to be. I mean, some people said, oh, leave them alone, they're old, blah, blah, blah. No. Evil is evil, and it has to be punished. And, how they found Eichmann and Mengele, the angel of death in Auschwitz, and the Butcher Leon, Klaus Barbie, how they found them is an amazing story of intrigue and violence and things like that. So there's a lot in the book.
Indeed. What surprised you? Was it their mentality, the SS, the Nazis, Hitler's right hand, if you will, thinking that after they did these horrible atrocities, the arrogance and their whole infrastructure that they built, that they were self-sustaining for so many years, undiscovered.
Yeah, they didn't think they did anything wrong. I mean, they say, the rationalization for all of these heinous SS people was, I was following orders. If I didn't do it, they'd kill me. Well, why did you sign up? You weren't drafted into the SS. That was a volunteer corps. But what surprised me the most is that most of the rank-and-file SS in the concentration camps were ordinary people. They were farmers or bankers or merchants. And when the war broke out, they'd say, give me the black uniform. I'm going to go in and kill babies. And these are ordinary people. They didn't go to hell school or anything. And so what tells me that every human being has a capacity for good, but also for evil. And we have to decide how we're going to live our lives. And these people made that decision, and they should pay for it. And most of them have.
I imagine, and I'm sure, Mr. Bill, you detail this in the book, just the extraordinary efforts that went to finding these folks and then, taking them out because they had all these protections built in these friendly countries.
Yeah, they bought the Argentine government, the Perones, Juan Perón and Evita. The SS organization Odessa paid them in gold, and they allowed these people in, Eichmann and Mengele and Martin Bormann. And they lived there for years before the trackers from Mossad, in Eichmann's case, got onto them and tracked them down. And they were protected by the Argentine authorities. It's just outrageous. The Brazilians protected them. The Red Cross helped them out by getting them passports, the Red Cross out of Switzerland. It's an astounding story that people just don't know about.
Bill O'Reilly joining us, Killing the SS. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, BillO'Reilly.com. You go back to that, and can this book, can these interviews bring us back to a totally different time? Even as a history teacher, World War II was such a big part of the curriculum. I'm sure it's shrunk throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're doing in public schools, Kevin. I mean, in Idaho, I don't know what. I live in New York, and I know that in public schools here, they stay away from, most controversial issues, and surely the Holocaust is that. And they just kind of gloss over what's happened, and people don't understand. So therefore, when they make decisions today, when you look at the divided country we have today, people don't understand why. It all fits in. My father served in World War II. He passed down a lot of values that he got in the military to me. And all of that, it all links in. And as I said, the rise in evil in America that we're seeing now, I'm not going to say it's unprecedented because, we have an interesting past here in the United States. But certainly we're seeing things now because of the Internet and because of cable right in our face that are just unacceptable. And we as a society have to talk about that and find solutions to it.
Bill, who left the biggest impression on you? Was it Eichmann, Barbie, Mengele, Bormann? Anybody in particular?
Well, the Bormann thing is the most rigorous for Martin Dugard, my co-author, and I. He was the second in command to Hitler, and nobody ever heard of him. He was like a gnome. He didn't seek publicity. Very few pictures ever taken of him. And then the West German government said he was killed a day after Hitler committed suicide in Berlin. Well, we found out that's not true, that he got out of Germany and got over to Argentina. And we present, pretty compelling evidence. That's a big story for those who understand World War II, who know what the Third Reich was. So that's one headline. The other headline is Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon in France, awful, sadistic guy, was actually being paid by the CIA to spy on communists after the Germans were defeated. And then people turned on him, and he got away to Bolivia, where he ran the Bolivian secret police. And what did the Bolivian secret police do? They were the ones that killed Che Guevara, Castro's right-hand man. So Klaus Barbie is responsible for the execution of Che Guevara. It's unbelievable, the stuff that we found out. I never knew that.
Finally, Bill O'Reilly joining us. We sure appreciate it. What about the fate of Hitler? You know, you always have that speculation.
Yeah, it's bull. Hitler was a methodical guy, crazy at the end. There were enough witnesses there, and the body was charred. They poured gasoline on him and lit him on fire after he shot himself. So I don't think there's any doubt that he was killed in a bunker. Nobody's really seriously contended that he wasn't. People can make money out of conspiracy things. That's why we wrote Killing Kennedy, because we told you the true story from the FBI files and everything like that. But you can make a lot of money making up conspiracies, but I'm 100% sure Hitler died in the bunker as the Soviets approached in May of 1945.
And what's going on BillO'Reilly.com today?
Well, we're doing the migrant caravan, which is not being reported honestly by the American media, Kevin. It's really, I can't believe it. There's big money behind this. Now they're bringing in trucks. Well, who's paying for those trucks? Who's in charge of this migrant thing? We found out a guy in Honduras who we're going to report on who's, the brains behind it, if you want to say. But this guy's being paid. So who's behind this? That's what the press should be looking at. But, of course, they're not. And so it's my job on BillO'Reilly.com to get as much information as we can get. We have covered the story honestly and in a very vivid way, and we'll continue to do that on BillO'Reilly.com tonight.
Bill, we appreciate you, and thank you again for joining us, sir.
Okay, Kevin. Good luck to you. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. From Bill O'Reilly to pro-life, joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, pro-life.
Yeah, he was talking about the Holocaust, and they say there was 6 million, maybe more, died, different kinds of people, mostly Jews. But we have a bigger Holocaust, probably easily a third and maybe up to a half and more of all of the conceptions. When people come into the world, they're murdered before they're born. And that's a huge Holocaust, and we're all responsible for that. And I don't know, the SS people got punished eventually by governments, the United States government, European governments. But I don't know who's going to punish all of us for not standing up for the unborn babies, but we need to do it. And that's my message. And it's a huge, there's 50 million surgical abortions every year in the world, and there's when you take birth control pills, a woman's body is told that she's already pregnant. Those sperm meets egg, it can't implant.
So so will it ever change?
I hope so. I mean, if it's so nice that you have me able to say this, so that people know that if they take a birth control pill, they're aborting or murdering their baby, and most of them don't even know it. There's been women outside of abortion clinics protesting surgical abortion that take abortion.
Well, now you have people suing the state of Idaho for our new law concerning that issue as well. What will it take? Will it take a politician telling the truth?
Yeah, it'll take a politician telling the truth, but the problem is the pro-life organizations, they don't want to deal with abortifacients, morning after pills.
You're calling out the pro-life groups now.
Yep, well, they got to be called out.
Well, it's coming up on our banquet there this year. Are you going to be there?
Yeah, of course, I'll be there.
Idaho Chooses Life. We love being there. Hopefully, even if I'm not speaking, I'll be there. I love that event at Eagle Christian Church. They do such a wonderful job. And you do as well, my friend, when you're not serving the spaghetti.
Yeah, well, it's white spaghetti. If it was whole wheat, I'd eat it.
Fair enough. Pro-life, we appreciate your call. And remember, we want you to be heard each and every morning on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you missed our interview with Bill O'Reilly, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. About 10 o'clock, you can catch that as well. Coming up next, there's a person that wanted to support the American flag. Now get this, you have people saying that the American flag means different things to different people. Is this not America? Troubling details and your reaction next with me, Kevin Miller, on KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So I'm going to yahoo.com, and I love the lead here. The American flag can mean different things to different people. For some, it inspires pride and represents freedom. To others, it's a symbol for white people only. Or it's seen as something that's been co-opted by white nationalists. These differing opinions faced off in New Platts, New York on Sunday. Now, here you have a guy who's a construction worker, corrections officer, Army National Guard veteran, organized American Flag Appreciation Day. In fact, his name, Joey Garcia. Doesn't get more American than that, right? So Mr. Garcia told Fox News, lately, our flag seems to be under attack. People today speak out against our flag and country so much and only want to point out what they feel is wrong with it. I understand and respect their opinions, their right to opinions, but I feel like those of us who do not feel that way have to have a voice too and deserve to be heard. Nearly 500 people showed up to pay their respects to the flag, but they were met by a small group of protesters, including one from the Hudson Valley Anti-Fascist Network. The protesters held signs bearing such messages as, yes, I'm anti-American, and they put in 3 Ks, or stop pretending your racism is patriotism. And by the way, there are few people that are just so transitional that they can be multi-platform and multi-successful. You know, there's only one Michael Jordan. There's only one Tom Brady. There's only one Kellen Moore. And just hearing what Bill O'Reilly had to say, and this is something that I don't think that we get from a lot of folks today, with all due respect to the multitude of people that have opinions, talking about the evilness that we face. Remember what Bill O'Reilly said, we're facing evil today just like we faced with the Nazis. And how in the world could anybody think that the American flag is a bad thing? In fact, the Facebook invite read, no politics, no political signs. This is not about a candidate or any political party. This is only about the love of our flag, the love of our country. Feel free to bring signs like, honk if you love the flag, or we stand for our flag. Anything that is positive and in support of the country, our flag, and the event is welcome. Anything negative or that is attacking anybody or any group is not welcome for this event. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, can anyone in their right mind justify protesting the American flag? Now you have one protester, Bennett Seppel, said the flag means a lot of things to different people, including the ability to oppress. Now, psychologists call this term self-loathing. And whether you're a progressive liberal or an anarchist, a member of Antifa, what type of person, and here I'm going to judge, in their right mind has an issue with the American flag? And if that's the case, maybe it's time to go somewhere else. You tell me. Can anybody tell me a country better than the one we live in now? Better than the United States of America? Gentlemen, ladies, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Time for traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave.